money, control, secrets. 3 words that have followed the Brown family for years. But lately, they've taken on a darker meaning. While fans once believed Sister Wives was about unity and shared sacrifice, behind the cameras, a very different story was playing out, a story of favoritism, financial betrayal, and children left behind. The biggest question now isn't about whether polygamy can work. It's about whether Kody and Robyn's so-called soulmate love story was ever really about love at all, or whether it was about power and money from the very beginning. Because when you dig into the history, Savannah being cut off, family funds mysteriously drained into Robyn's failed closet business, and Kody rewriting the narrative of who sacrificed for whom, the pattern is impossible to ignore. Robyn wasn't just Kody's favorite wife. She became the center of the financial empire, while Christine, Janelle, and Meri quietly watched the fruits of their labor disappear. And the cost wasn't just measured in dollars. It was measured in broken trust, abandoned kids, and years of favoritism that tore the family apart. Hey everyone, I'm Sarah, and welcome back to TLC Sister Wives Daily. If you're just finding our channel, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Because today, we're peeling back the curtain on the Browns' financial secrets and asking, was Robyn's marriage to Kody really built on romance, or was it always about control? Stay tuned, because the truth is even more shocking than you think. From the very moment Robyn entered the picture, Kody couldn't stop telling the world that something about her was different. In interviews, confessionals, and even in casual conversations with his family, he poured out words that he rarely, if ever, used with his other wives. He described Robyn as his soulmate, his destiny, the woman who made him feel alive again. That language may have sounded romantic on TV, but for Meri, Janelle, and Christine, it landed like a sharp insult. After decades of loyalty, sacrifice, and raising children in a hard, plural marriage, they were suddenly painted as less than, while Robyn was elevated to a pedestal. The contrast was glaring. With Meri, his first wife, their connection became described in flat, almost dismissive terms. He spoke about duty rather than passion. With Janelle, he framed their relationship as practical, rooted in partnership but missing affection. And with Christine, the story turned even colder, as Kody admitted on camera that he was no longer attracted to her. Yet when he talked about Robyn, it was all about fireworks, destiny, and emotional fulfillment. The disparity was humiliating, especially in a culture where the wives had once been encouraged to believe that equality was sacred. But here's what often went unnoticed. Robyn played directly into Kody's ego. She smiled at his stories, agreed with his frustrations, and gave him the validation he craved. Where the other wives challenged him, Robyn soothed him. Where Janelle fought for independence, Robyn leaned on him. That difference made Kody feel powerful, admired, and in control, something his pride could never resist. He wasn't just falling for a woman. He was falling for the reflection of himself that Robyn so carefully fed back to him. And while the world was meant to see this as a great love story, behind the scenes another reality was brewing. Because every time Kody declared Robyn special, every time he distanced himself from the wives who had built his family, another piece of the Browns' foundation began to crumble. And soon, that pedestal of romance would reveal its cracks, because special love wasn't just about emotion. It carried a price tag. So what happens when the so-called soulmate story isn't just about romance, but about money, power, and control? That's where the unraveling truly begins. If Kody and Robyn's so-called love story was built on emotional favoritism, the cracks widened when money entered the picture. Because while Christine, Janelle, and even Meri were grinding every day to keep their families afloat, Robyn's big contribution was a business that never stood on its own. My Sisterwife's Closet. On paper, it was supposed to be a family dream, a jewelry line that represented sisterhood and plural marriage, their way of turning a controversial lifestyle into a profitable brand. But the reality? It was a disaster. Orders piled up, The website went offline, and the few pieces that actually shipped were poorly reviewed. Instead of building a thriving business, Robyn leaned on the family's shared money. And while the other wives hustled to make sure there was food on the table and bills were paid, Robyn's venture quietly bled funds with nothing to show for it. Look at the contrast. Christine found creative ways to build her independence, from real estate to public speaking. Janelle became a powerhouse with Plexus, not only supporting herself but helping her children build financial freedom. Even Meri, who often got the short end of Kody's attention, worked hard selling LuLaRoe and building her own business ventures. These women took risks, put in hours, and built something of their own. Meanwhile, Robyn's closet sat empty, except for the money that vanished into it. And here's where the betrayal cuts the deepest. Kody constantly preached about family unity, about everyone sharing their money in the name of fairness. But fairness never seemed to reach Christine, Janelle, or Meri, because while they sacrificed, Kody lived almost exclusively with Robyn. The so-called family pot wasn't really for the family at all. It was for the woman he favored. The same woman whose business dreams never turned a profit, but always demanded resources, Imogen. The sting of that betrayal. Christine, who gave her youth to raising children, had to watch as her money disappeared into a website that went dark. Janelle, who fought to create stability, had to question why her successful Plexus checks weren't being reinvested in her kids' futures. Meri, who had already been pushed to the margins emotionally, saw her hard-earned sales siphoned away while she lived without the partnership she once signed up for. They worked. They sacrificed. And all the while, Kody funneled their efforts into the life he built with Robyn. This wasn't just mismanagement. It was favoritism carved into the family's finances. A love story that didn't just wound hearts, but emptied bank accounts. And every lost dollar became another reminder. The dream of one family had been rewritten to serve only two people. If money showed where Kody's loyalty truly lived, the way he treated his children made it undeniable. Time and again, TLC cameras captured a father who poured himself into Robyn's household while his older children, the ones raised by Christine, Janelle, and Meri, were left to fend for themselves. One of the clearest examples was school mornings. Kody happily drove Solomon and Ari to school, making a ritual out of it. He gushed about how much he loved those moments, how it gave him purpose as a dad. But where was that same devotion when it came to Truly? Where was that joy when Savannah needed her father? Christine and Janelle carried the weight of early mornings, school runs, and endless routines, all while Kody acted like showing up for Robyn's kids was a heroic choice. The holidays cut even deeper. Fans will never forget the heartbreaking scene where Savannah was left sitting alone on Christmas morning, waiting for a father who didn't show up. No calls, no presents, just silence. And when questioned, Kody offered excuses. Travel, COVID, protocols, fairness. But the reality was clear. Robyn's children had a father who made himself available. Janelle's daughter had nothing but empty promises. That kind of absence isn't just neglect. It's a wound that lingers for life. And Truly? Christine's youngest daughter grew up watching her father's affection flow in one direction. Kody himself admitted he was estranged from his older kids, as though it was out of his control. But estrangement doesn't happen overnight. It builds from years of choosing one household over another, of prioritizing Robyn's children while telling himself the others would understand. Truly didn't understand. Savannah didn't understand. None of them did. They just felt the cold absence where a father should have been. What made this even more painful was the double standard. Kody often justified his absence by claiming the older kids were independent or didn't need him anymore. But parenting isn't about convenience. Children don't stop needing love just because they grow up. What really happened was simpler. Kody saw his children as extensions of their mothers. If he was drifting from Christine, Janelle, and Meri, he drifted from their kids too. But when it came to Robyn, his devotion never wavered, because his obsession with her was reflected in how he treated her children. For Savannah, the hurt was unbearable. Sitting in silence while her siblings celebrated elsewhere, she became the living proof of what Kody's favoritism really cost. For truly, it was learning that her father's love had conditions. For the rest of the kids, it was the crushing realization that unless their mother was Robyn, they would never come first. Kody's choices made one truth impossible to deny. He wasn't just neglecting wives, he was neglecting children. And the scars of that favoritism cut far deeper than even the broken marriages ever could. If there's one story that perfectly sums up Kody's obsession with control, it's the infamous Vegas furniture scene. It seemed simple enough. Meri wanted to buy a new couch for her home. After years of living with hand-me-downs and budget cuts, she just wanted one thing of her own. But the moment she brought it up, Kody shut her down. No discussion, no compromise. Just his word as final. What made it worse was how quickly Robyn rushed to his side. Instead of supporting Meri, instead of understanding that a couch was more than just furniture, it was a small piece of independence, Robyn reinforced Kody's no. Together, they made it clear the decision wasn't Meri's to make. It wasn't about comfort or family needs or fairness. It was about power. That scene revealed the unspoken truth of the Brown family dynamic. Kody decided. Robyn approved. Everyone else stayed silent. And even when Christine or Janelle pushed back, it rarely mattered. Their voices were drowned out by the constant chorus of Robyn backing Kody, making him feel justified, even righteous, in dismissing the other wives. The couch wasn't just a couch. It was a metaphor for everything. Every financial choice, every big move, every allocation of resources followed the same pattern. Kody's impulsive decisions, often rooted in ego, left the other women with scraps. Meri's couch? Gone. Janelle's savings? Drained into family projects that mysteriously benefited Robyn. Christine's sacrifices? Overlooked in favor of Kody's vision. And each time, Robyn's quiet nod of agreement sealed the deal. Looking back, it's impossible not to see how control over something as small as furniture tied directly to control over money. If Meri couldn't even choose a couch for her own living room, what chance did she or the others have when it came to business decisions, real estate purchases, or family finances? Kody's ego drove the choices, but it was Robyn's constant reinforcement that kept them in place. That Vegas moment was more than just a petty argument caught on camera. It was the blueprint of a Meri, age built on one man's control and one woman's willingness to defend it, no matter the cost to everyone else. And as the years went on, those same dynamics bled into every corner of the Brown family. Leaving Christine, Janelle, and Meri trapped in a system where their voices were tensed, their needs dismissed, and their money funneled into someone else's dream. For years, Kody and Robyn built their image around being the perfect marriage in a sea of dysfunction. They positioned themselves as the righteous pair, the ones who did things right, while Christine, Janelle, and Meri became the scapegoats. Whenever problems came up, Kody pointed to the other wives' so-called disobedience or lack of loyalty, and Robyn slipped into her familiar role as the weeping victim, forever misunderstood and mistreated. It was a pattern as predictable as it was destructive. Kody played the all-knowing leader, convinced his authority was unquestionable, while Robyn clung to her fragile persona, painting herself as the woman who only wanted peace but was constantly dragged into conflict. Together, they shifted blame outward, never at themselves, never at the cracks in their own relationship. And here's the truth. Their marriage only looked solid because there were buffers. Christine's strength, Janelle's practicality, and Meri's endurance absorbed the fallout. Whenever Kody exploded, the other wives carried the weight. Whenever Robyn cried, they were expected to soothe her. Their labor, their patience, their silence made Kody and Robyn look more stable than they really were. But now, the buffers are gone. Christine walked away, Janelle found her independence, and Meri finally chose her own path. For the first time, Kody and Robyn are left with nothing but each other, and it's not as idyllic as they once pretended. The anger has nowhere to go but inward. The financial strain is no longer spread across 4 households. It rests solely on their shoulders. The constant tension, the bitterness, the loss of status, it's all catching up. Behind closed doors, the dynamic looks very different. Kody's ego doesn't shrink just because he has fewer people to control, and Robyn's tears don't carry the same weight when there are no sister wives left to mop them up. What once worked as a team performance now feels like 2 actors stuck on stage with no supporting cast, their flaws fully exposed under the spotlight. Will the marriage survive? Probably. But not out of love. It limps along because change is terrifying. Kody clings to Robyn because she's the last one standing, the only person still willing to prop up his delusions. Robyn clings to Kody because without him, her carefully crafted role as the favored wife collapses. Together, they're trapped in a relationship built less on devotion and more on fear of what happens if it all falls apart. At the end of the day, the so-called love story between Kody and Robyn was never really about romance. It wasn't about destiny or soulmates or the kind of partnership they like to brag about on camera. It was about control. It was about money. It was about feeding Kody's ego while Robyn played the role of his loyal enabler. And while they clung to that narrative, the people who truly paid the price were the children. Savannah left behind on Christmas morning, truly pushed to the side. Garrison, who could never feel his father's full presence. These kids carried the weight of decisions they didn't make, living in a home where favoritism wasn't subtle. It was screamed in every choice, every absence, every dollar spent. The truth is painful. Kody and Robyn's version of soulmates meant sacrificing everyone else. It meant Christine, Janelle, and Meri were silenced. It meant the children were divided into categories of worthy and unworthy. It meant that love was transactional, measured by obedience and proximity to Robyn's household. And now, what's left? A hollow marriage propped up by fear, not affection. A famille shattered by favoritism. A legacy of silence and resentment. The empire Kody tried to build on control has collapsed, and no amount of spin can hide the cost. Please subscribe this channel.